We've been talking recently about some of the big court cases that have been taking place in Spain, and of course we saw, well, the first ending of the big court case involving the Spanish Football Federation ex-chief Luis Rubiales, the case with Jenny Hermoso the other day, and did it go the way that you were expecting? Because it was upheld the initial part of the sentence or the question over the kiss, but the coercion, the other part of the second charge wasn't upheld. Is that the way you expected things to go?
Well, it's one of the results. It could have happened, obviously, and it was right in the middle. It's like, okay, no coercion, but just obviously the kiss was not very well welcome in society neither. Plus, the victim made a big statement as well.
Do you think that made a big difference, the fact that Jenny stood up in court? And
sure. I mean, without that, it would have never happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the victim, declares and denounces at the beginning, and then goes to court hearing, and it stays the same with confidence. You believe what, in this case, she's saying. You trust, is confident in what she's saying, consistent. There is no differences on the declaration that maybe at the beginning and then. So at the end, we have some rules in the Supreme Court regarding this kind of declarations. Because in many issues, in many occasions, on criminal issues, there is no witness. Mm. In this case, obviously,
in this case, lots on the camera.
In this case, we have a lot. In this case, we have a witness. But the defense of Luis Rubiales, it is, okay, I asked her, "Do you want? Can I kiss you?" In Spanish, it says, "Te doy un beso." Or it says really the word, it was piquito. It was like very small kiss.
Because they had a decree to take.
Yes, that's right.
And this is what he says. And she denies, and it's not been proved that what he said it is what he says. So at the end, it's really, as Ignacio says, is a statement of the victim. Yeah. It's been consistent, and even though it's been the penalty, it's been the minimum possible according to the claim it was on. Yeah,
he was fine, but he got a minimum prison sentence, which he will never go, and now
just under 2 years as a first offence, you don't go to prison.
That's correct. Plus, they're going to all appeal, so that's
right. They're both appealing, so it's not finished really. It's going to continue. How long would that normally take for the appeal process to take? Do you think?
I think a minimum of 9 months for sure, isn't it?
For
9 months, or
more than that.
Yeah, 9 months, 1 year. It will be the average, depending on that court. How much? Well, it's the High Court now, isn't it? But yes, the victim is a very strong statement, and it happens exactly with domestic violence. Yeah. It's exactly the same case of domestic violence with a strong statement, consistent in the time, in front of the judge. The judge appreciates that is trustful statement. There is not a lot you could do. Well, obviously, why they gave the minimum, because of the surrounding evidence, and it was only a kiss. It was not another aggression, It was just a kiss. And the judge in the sentence states that the entity of the crime, it is what it is, which is a kiss. That's what he said.
It was a small case that is obviously didn't stop her, and it could not stop her in order to be happy because they won the World Cup.
Yeah.
At the end, it was something very exceptional. Yeah. And this small case, didn't stop her to be happy. She could be happy. This is what the judge says on the resolution.
That was the view that the judge took in that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens when it comes back into court then, and see. You would have thought really that they might both go, I'm glad it's over, because it's been such a high-profile case, a worldwide case with eyes on both of them and Spain and huge coverage. You would have thought that perhaps they might just go, right, I want to draw a clean, just draw a line and move on. But we'll see what happens. Of course, there are a number of cases that we've mentioned before that are ongoing in Spain. The other one, the big one, is about the Attorney General. And the judge has made some quite strong statements in the past week saying that the evidence does point to the Attorney General as the author of the leak of the email to Ayuso's boyfriend's email. We were talking last time about this, weren't we, Ignacio, where we were saying that there's a little bit of delay here and there because they're trying to wait for different things to happen in the case.
That's exactly.
It's
a whole strategy, isn't it?
There's a lot of strategy going on.
But actually...
but the Attorney General has made evidence disappear. That statement, I mean, that's translated from Spanish to English, but I mean, that's quite strong, isn't it?
That's an extraordinary situation. How can he delay the same day that the police came into the room, to collect the computer?
You're trying to hide. I mean, probably the evidence is not as such as hiding. You're hiding. It doesn't say anything, but you're hiding. It would be better to say, listen, you see, I have nothing to be afraid of. But it's like deleting everything. It sounds or smells.
When you are accused, when you are investigated, one of the things that we always say to clients, I mean, you are allowed to lie. I mean, it is a right on the Constitution. It doesn't say it's right to lie, but you have a right to say whatever you want. I mean, it says, all right, someone is accusing me for, homicide. I mean, I wasn't there. I was not there. I was in the other town. Or someone tells, oh, you were driving drunk. No, I wasn't. It's not my car. I was not driving. It was someone else who stole it. You can say anything you want to. But obviously, whoever is accusing you has to prove what they are saying to you. And in this case, whenever you go to the court hearing, an investigation testimony or interrogatory, you are allowed to not to answer any question at all, or just to answer your lawyer, or just the judge, or just the prosecutor. And in this case, if I don't remember badly, this how do you say, chief prosecutor, general chief prosecutor, he just answered the question of his lawyer.
I know.
And for me, this is not transparency of someone who should be given to everyone.
He wasn't cross-examined by the judge or by
he didn't want to.
He didn't want to.
He said no.
He said no.
He denied. For me, even though he has the right to,
but he
has the right to, but it's something that I don't.
He's the top dog, isn't he? He's the Attorney General. You would think, well, he's meant to have a better grasp of the law than all of the other lawyers in the land, no?
I mean, it's lawful.
He must know what he's doing.
At the end of the day, it's lawful not to declare, not to do a statement, not to plead guilty. But as Pedro said, it's not transparent.
It's not what you would have advised him. You would have advised him to be a bit more open, man.
Well,
if he was right.
Exactly. If
he was right.
And show us that there's something wrong there.
Okay, wow. It's ongoing, so we'll find out a bit more. Another of the news stories that has been making a lot of inches in the English press here in Spain is about how many Americans are moving here. Now, we know that it started before COVID, in fact, around about the financial crisis, but it seems to have picked up. After COVID, over 13,000 Americans from 2022 to now have moved to Spain, and obviously much is being made of the current situation and the way things have changed in America, but that doesn't change the fact that lots and lots, thousands and thousands of Americans moved to Spain from the financial crisis right the way through up until COVID, and then that stopped, and now are moving here again. And you're dealing with people who want to move from the States, mostly retirees, I understand. But what do they need? How do you help them, and what sort of things do you help them with?
Right. Well, Americans, I think we've been dealing with them recently, probably 3-4 years at least, is being strong.
I think from COVID, it probably has been the time that the Americans coming in massively.
Yeah, and then we start helping them with the relocation from the very beginning. So they contact us from abroad, trying to organize their finances and business to relocate into Spain. So we talk about tax planning, what is the impact they're going to have, how to do it. They do ask us about the immigration process, which is quite important now with the golden visa going away.
Yeah.
We're probably swifting into non-lucrative visa, probably normal visa if applicable.
But it's generally retirees you're dealing with. So.
Yeah, Madrid gets more
business or more families,
more employees, right? But here in this area, even though we just we have the license, we could act on the whole of Spain. But our clients are more retirees or early retirees.
And how difficult is it for somebody to up sticks and move from the United States to Spain. It sounds like a long way to us because, we're used to our sort of 2-hour flights around Europe and so on. But, Americans are quite happy to sit on a flight for 5.5 hours, which, you can go from New York to Spain quite easily with that. So it's not a big leap for them time-wise, but culture-wise, and, it is quite
big.
different, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're okay with it, isn't it?
There are a lot of Spanish-speaking Americans, obviously.
Many of the clients also say, okay, well, what if they, retiring on the south of the United States, maybe Florida, but obviously they are thinking about the cost of living, what kind of quality of life they're going to get.
And money goes further in Spain than it does in America, yes.
And then they say, well, if I'm going to travel a couple of times back to see family in the US, well, there are a lot of flights right now also from Malaga, for example, Madrid and Barcelona, and they have a big access to fly. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive as well. So at the end, the Americans are checking and saying, okay, well, instead of moving to Panama, Costa Rica, or República Dominicana, or
Bahamas always used to be a good one, didn't
exactly.
it?
So let's move to Spain because it's Europe. We could move into the Schengen area. They could visit all of Spain, culture, Italy, France, Greece, Portugal. It's something that obviously Spain is one of the countries attractive in Southern Europe. And at the end, they see that, obviously what we help is immigration and the most important issues about tax planning. Tax planning is
it straightforward? Because it's difficult enough knowing how to deal with our own taxes in our own country, let alone thinking about another country and coming to Europe from, say, America. Is it difficult?
It's not an easy and very smooth, but if you plan ahead and you know what to do...
So it's about the planning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about the planning. And, I consider they need planning. That's the key of the point. If you just jump on a plane and come over here and you start hitting bits and pieces, then I'm sure you will fail with one. Yeah. Especially the immigration, with the issues. But they are very well organized in general. At least the clients that we get.
You do a lot, don't you? Somebody perhaps making a trip over, go through the possibilities and what you can do, and you do a lot of that online, don't you?
Yeah, everything we organize a video conference. And that's why afternoons now is busy for them, because that's the time is good for them, depending whether you are contacting one from LA or New York. It's a different 6 hours different.
Yeah.
So, and buying a property as well. But the American likes renting to start with, which is is a cultural thing. They sell, they're very fan of investing money into these international funds. And they live from savings and they rent. And probably they might buy, but it's not the number one priority.
Or maybe they sell the property in the US and buy another one in Spain.
And generally in the cities rather than the coast. That's slightly different than some Northern Europeans.
Yeah. It's one thing that they always comment is they don't want to drive.
Yeah, they don't want to drive.
They've been driving a lot in the US, probably.
Yeah. It's long drives in the States.
And they want to have access to the bus, to the coach, or to the train, or the airport.
Very well.
Yeah,
they don't like as much as different nationalities. The villages in general is not a big attraction, probably because they might be isolated.
Yeah.
But they don't want to drive. That's pretty much.
And cities like Valencia or Alicante,
Alicante,
which is small, you can walk everywhere. Really, it's fantastic for them. Yeah.
There's a very interesting piece actually on the website, isn't there? If you go to Real Stories, it's the last video on that particular page. Tell us about your man from Texas.
Yeah, that's right. It's Martin Wood. It's a long story, but people could listen to the video.
Indeed.
And it was about he selling in Texas and moving over here to Spain. He had a daughter, and he has one now, that helped him a little bit. But she was the one who said, Ignacio Pedro, please deal with him and with my mum. And it was about organizing the visa. It was a non-lucrative visa from Houston, Spanish consulate, organizing power of attorney so we could buy the property. And I remember even negotiating with the vendor, which was a good deal. We saved him a lot of money. And then he got the property. So he got his health insurance as well, thank God, because he had some issues. Mary had some issues. And we made the wills. So pretty much everything, the whole
package.
package. The only thing he didn't do probably is get a driver license. He doesn't want to drive.
Okay.
But yeah, and
well, it's a very nice testimonial on there, and it talks about how he made his move and everything behind it, and how you helped him as well. So AlicanteLawyers.es. If you go to the top of the menu, Real Stories, you'll find that at the end of that particular page, the last video there. AlicanteLawyers.es. Now, last week saw the very last ever webinar on the Golden Visa for Spain. And of course, we've just seen today that President Trump's announced that there's going to be one for America. But anyway, let's talk about the end of the Golden Visa in Spain. Anyway, so that is it. But Pete, you are still getting inquiries.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, we're getting inquiries, and we are still approving some budget and instructions to do it.
Yeah.
To do it in terms of, we need to be rapid. Obviously, we need to get marriage certificate. If there are children, birth certificates, the health insurance, you need to carry on with the financial means. We need to carry on with the criminal records, with the FBI and sometimes the state one. So and everything takes time. The public document needs to be apostille, sworn translation. It takes time to get all this.
But the important thing is that the process has been started. Yes.
And the investment. If property, if someone has not already bought a property right now, is not the time, because it's going to take time
investment
on the €1 million or the bank deposit, €1 million. That can be done easily and rapidly. We take about 8 days, more or less. It could be between 7 and 10 days. And with all the documents prepared and that investment done, that's perfect. It can be done, and you get 3 years authorization for residency.
Yeah, I think we get every day at least a query about the Golden Visa still. I'm still on time, and you get it until the very last minute.
If you want to do it. I mean, it really isn't. There isn't much time left, but it's incredible that you're still getting inquiries about that.
Because a lot of people made an investment and then they apply for it, or they're in halfway through. So, and I don't know. You always there are cases that you leave for the very last minute for different reasons. So. So we did the last webinar. As far as we think it's going to be our last webinar, because we might think about doing another one to help people. But yes.
Well, so what sort of questions are people asking you in those webinars about the Golden Visa then?
It's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, obviously, as they understand it's going to be late, as they understand if they don't have all the documents, or all the documents are not duly prepared, or what if they apply for the 2nd of April? And obviously, the resolution is going to be after the 3rd. All these questions, investment,
marriage.
We have to explain about, as marriage, for example, we need to explain about, the investment needs to be done by one of you or maybe by both of you, but you need to cover at least the minimum investment. So a property, for example, €500,000, if it's bought by two spouses, we need to be sure that the community of the marriage is like that. It's not a private asset by each one of them, because if not, would mean that each one of them has invested €250,000, which do not cover, do not fulfill the requirements of a Golden Visa. So all these questions about a mortgage, do I need or a bank account, about the health insurance, all these questions at the end takes time, and how to apply, and it's a. At this time, if you have all the documents, it's straightforward. The visa. But the problem now is the time.
Yeah, there really is. April is it, and we're into March nearly. Incidentally, it'll be $5 million for your Trump Gold card, just in case you're interested, thinking about making a step the other way. That's what he was saying today, anyway. Pedro and Ignacio in the studio with us. We've been hearing quite a lot about tourist licenses over the last year or so. How easy or difficult is it to get a tourist license in the Valencia community? Because it changes from region to region, certainly.
Well, actually here, after, I think it was the 6th, Pedro, wasn't it? 6th of August, they changed the law, that date. And actually, it gets more difficult depending on the areas where you are. For example, Alicante. Alicante now, I think they're not granting in an area, in a centre, correct? Denia, exactly the same.
The hub has been suspended as well.
So it's not that as easy as it used to. And I think people should think twice what kind of investment they're going to do and whether it's really worth that type of investment with a touristic license, which I find it good, but probably you don't want that hassle unless it's very profitable or unless you have people to help you with.
And we're not sure always, are we, about perhaps a local, an area, a town, a region even, or even central government might change the rules somehow, which can make it... That's not to say we don't want to push people away and say don't do it, because it's still possible.
It's still possible, and depends on your area. And the way is that depending on the area where you are, it might be suspended for a couple of years or just for more time, But yes, the requirements, you need to fulfill the requirements. Is not as easy as it used to be. And then it's very important about the model that you're going to have, whether you're going to make it touristic. Obviously, touristic is from 0 days, 1 day to 10 days. Short terms is 11 days up to pretty much. Short terms is 1 year, okay? But you don't require a license. And then from 1 year onwards, in general, it will be like a residential long-term rental. Taxation is different completely. So for 1 year time, you've got big allowances. So you might think about it, whether it's worth it or not. Short-term rentals, then you don't have any allowance. So, and the problem, Pedro, might be the non-Europeans. They're taxed as a non-tax resident. They don't get the expenses.
If they are not residents in Spain, if you are not resident in Spain and you have a property, you own a property, you are renting it as a non-European. If you are a resident in a non-European Union country, that's the key point. And this is 24% of the gross amount of income. And if you are resident in a European Union country and you have a property in Spain where you are rented, then will be income minus costs, and then the net amount will be 19%. But according to the license of touristic, it's been approved recently, and it's going to be affected. And I understand it's going to be the end, or almost the end, of the licenses, touristic license in community of owners, in apartments, flats, properties that are integrated in the community of owners, which is a lot obviously. Because from the 3rd of April, you are going to expressly need an authorization by the community of owners.
So we're talking about an area, so sort of say a block of apartments where there's a community with a number of people who are actually resident.
Yeah, that's right.
That aren't solely tourist apartments.
Well, unless you have your own villa, you need the authorization from the community.
Yeah.
And 3/3 is a lot of people saying yes.
You have to. It needs to be authorized by 3/5 of the owners, which represents really 3/5 of the percentage of the ownership. Everyone who has a property in Spain in a community of owners knows that you own the property, probably 100%, probably, but as well you own a small percentage of the community of owners.
Correct. Yeah.
That is like a shareholder.
Yeah.
Well. You need 3/5 of that approved.
They have
you
to
can
approve.
act a license, which is going to be very difficult to get it. Communications.
Yeah,
and this is for the Valencian community to start, or is that going to be?
No, that's national.
It's a national thing.
That's national.
They're going to change probably the Ley de Propiedad Horizontal.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
it's national. That specific law has been changed.
Yeah,
and
has been changed already,
and will be started from the 3rd of April.
So that's going to change the model.
Yeah, that's going to change the model.
And actually, that's what generally people have been saying. It's the model that's broken, not blaming the people who are coming here, the tourists. It's actually, the Spain's model for visitors coming, tourists that are coming. So this is one way to maybe look after that, is to help stop the residential apartments price rentals increasing dramatically.
And I think it's going to work.
Yeah, it's going to stop. It's going to stop a lot for new licenses, for new authorizations.
I was going to say, actually,
for those ones who already got it, perfect. It's okay.
All right. So this starts at the beginning of April for new licenses. I think it's important to point out. Certainly,
I think probably this is one of the measures that will help the prices, hopefully going down for the locals on rentals. Plus the allowances that you get when you rent long term. It's a different model, right? Obviously, might be less money. Probably you need less people cleaning, less, it's a different model. But yeah, as Pedro said, whoever's got the license, he could carry on until they cancel. I think every 5 years has to be.
Well, the license is like a urbanistic, let's say, document, license, and comes from a municipality and comes from a rule from Comunidad Valenciana, in this case, where we are. And this, everyone who got it before the 8th of August of 2024 will be renewed another 5 years until 8th of August 2029. Perfect. And then you got it before, that's fantastic. And even though if you have to apply for a new one after the 8th of August, well, it's just fulfill the requirements that in a city that is not suspended, because there are many cities that right now are suspending to give new ones. So you were in the process of buying a property and then you see this, is something that it will stop. Alicante is 2 years. It's going to be
they're not going to allow them for 2 years.
Given any license in the city.
It's only the city.
And then we have this community of owners law that is national in all of Spain.
Right. Okay, so somewhat varied then. The number of ways that the Spanish government and local governments are looking at how to handle the issue with those rising prices. And I would imagine this is something you're going to be looking at on the webinars at some point soon, yeah?
Yeah, sure. We're going to just try to advertise next webinar about the impact of the new law, the change of the rules, obviously the quorum that you need on the community, and taxation-wise, what about if you're a non-tax resident? How about if you're a resident? When is applicable? And way forward. So I still haven't seen the community giving fines yet. I think they don't have that many people, that many inspectors. But that doesn't mean if somebody denounces the fact, they will rapidly send someone. Yeah. But that was another question from clients, is how rapid they're going to act.
How quickly will they implement?
Yeah. But they could start, but I think now they're working pretty much on the denunciation.
Well, you just hope that the changes in the regulations will make people think, and hopefully that will make things happen. We'll see. Anyway, more on the webinar next week. Have you set a time and date for that one?
Yeah, we're not sure where we're going to make it on Tuesday or Wednesday. Depends on our diary.
As soon as we know, we'll mention that.
Definitely afternoon.
Make sure everybody knows. AlicanteLawyers.es. Many thanks to Pedro and Ignacio. Good to see you, gentlemen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you next week. Yeah, bye-bye.